It's combine week around the NFL. While we wait for those players to hit the field in their shorts, get all the 40 times, what are we looking for? What are the most important 6 things that can happen for these prospects at the NFL Scouting Combine on today's NFL Six Pack?
This is Locked On's NFL Six Pack. 6 bold takes from 2 guys who just flat out know football. NFL experts Matt Williamson and Brian Peacock bring pure NFL talk. Great takes, no fluff, just honest football talk. Crack one open. It's NFL Six Pack on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the NFL Six Pack. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. It's the calm before the Indianapolis storm as the NFL world descends upon Indianapolis, Indiana, and the Scouting Combine, Lucas Oil Stadium. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll get a lot of reports, and we're going to have a little preview of the Combine and specifically the 6 most important things we think could happen at the NFL Scouting Combine, which encompasses a lot more than 6 prospects on our list today. I do want to thank everybody for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with us, and thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future at FanDuel and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, Matt, you are about to embark on Indianapolis and head there. You will be there all next week, and so we'll reconvene on Tuesday and we'll have some more reports about what's going on. And I always the week always starts with that little bit of a anticipation, and then it's like hurry up and wait, because you don't get weigh-ins right away, you don't get workouts really until almost the following weekend. So we've got a lot of other stories to get to before the Combine actually gets going, and I hope you have a good time in Indianapolis this year, and I hope you enjoy the festivities that happen after work in Indianapolis, as usually is the case.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year. It's not a bad ride. Pull the curtain back. We're recording this Sunday night because I'm going to be traveling all day, basically Monday, and getting set up and all that stuff. But you kind of mentioned it. I mean, there is a calm before the storm, and all of us media folk go really like 2 days too early, because the biggest thing not the biggest thing, but the reason that, Radio Row starts hopping earlier than the drills start hopping is a lot of GMs and coaches will speak early in the week. So that's, the Steelers are going to cover Omar Khan's conversation at the podium. And then we leave Friday, which I always find funny because even like Radio Row on Friday is pretty quiet, but they still have a lot more testing and combine stuff going on after we leave, so it's kind of an odd timeline that I'm not sure all the listeners understand. But my favorite thing about it is when we're on the air, we get great guests. I'm going to grab probably like Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus, and hopefully Todd McShay and Matthew Berry joins us every year, and Greg Cosell, and just have really good football conversations. But it's just really cool that there's a whole week where basically everyone involved with the league is in the same place, Yeah,
and definitely say hi for me to all the folks that you run into that are currently members of the Locked On Podcast Network, like Trevor and, Ben Solak and some of those guys that are former members of the Locked On Podcast Network. And
we're going to be searching down Q from Locked On Raiders to get some Patrick Graham defensive coordinator, conversation, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You got to get all the insight from everybody that's there. So yeah, that's going to be a fun time. Fernando Mendoza, the #1 pick, it would be a massive shock if he's not the #1 pick in the NFL draft. He's not going to throw. He wants to shine a spotlight on his receivers and have everybody descend on, stay in the state there, but at Indiana when they have their pro day and have everybody there. And so that's going to be a big event when he throws at his pro day and has his timing down with all of his receivers to showcase everybody there. We'll see what the Indiana receivers do at the Combine this week, but Mendoza not going to be doing the on-field workouts, but Ty Simpson is. And so that's #1 for me by a lot here with Ty Simpson. Is he going to prove that he is or potentially is not a first-round caliber quarterback, and might be the opportunity for the only guy to do that? And then, of course, the other quarterbacks that throw have a chance to prove that maybe it's not as bad of a quarterback class in this year's draft as everyone's talking about.
Yeah, funny you mentioned Indiana. I think I'm going to go to a college game at the university at IU, which is like 45 minutes up the road while we're there. And
nice.
my daughter's strongly considering going there, so I wanted to go check out the campus. So I think there's going to be a bunch of us to go up.
I mean, it used to be a basketball college, but apparently not anymore. It's a football school.
Not as much. So I do think Simpson's definitely worth talking about. Like, I think a cool thing about the combine drills, which frankly I don't get to watch until I get home, are I call it assembly line scouting, because you see all the quarterbacks next to each other making the exact same throw, one after another in alphabetical order. So I do think some people can shine in that environment, just like I like him better than him, and I like him better than him. But I also think what's really noteworthy about Simpson in particular is a lot of people I've talked to think his steam will start to really pick up right about now, because he can explain away the end of the season because he was injured a great deal, and people can kind of get to the root of that with interviews. But from what I understand, he's a son of a coach, and he should interview extremely well. That all of a sudden I'll be shocked. I won't be shocked if next week we start seeing him the Jets' second pick, or maybe the Steelers at 21 in these mocks from the DJs and people that know, because he shined in Indy.
It's interesting. It could really go a lot of directions with Ty Simpson. He could show up and his arm looks okay, but he's listed 6'2", 200.
I think he's going to be a little physical underwhelming.
Right. So 6'1.5", even 205. That's not a first round guy generally. So just that alone, just showing up and weighing in, which is going to be a big part of all of this. You can't fake that, and you can't not weigh in. Right. So, you can hide your 40 time for a while. You can put on more weight by the time you get to your pro day or whatever, but you can't just go not weigh in. We know how tall and how long arms of all these guys are going to have, which is a really big one we're going to get to in a second. So Ty Simpson could just be, even before he hits the field drills, you'd be like, man, this is not an impressive human being. I stood next to him, and that's not what an NFL quarterback's supposed to look like. And on top of it, he's kind of got a fringe arm and athleticism, and or he could be like, oh yeah, I'm a legit 6'2", and I show up and I'm 215, and look pretty
solid,
and don't look small, and you throw really well, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a first round guy all day. And so it could go a lot of directions, I think, for Ty Simpson, and of course, big opportunity for the other quarterbacks to kind of file in behind that, and I think it would be a place for someone like Drew Aller, who is big and has a big arm, to really shine and be like, I got the best, I'm the biggest, most strapping, impressive, physical,
prototypical
prototype quarterback at the combine.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up Aller, and I wanted to bring up Taylen Green, because Taylen Green was also at the Senior Bowl, so everyone does have heights and weights on him. But like when you stand next to Cam Newton or Josh Allen, you're like Ben Roethlisberger. Like, he just looks big, and I think Aller and Green are going to look big. They're 6'5", 6'6", long arms. Green just runs like an antelope, whenever he starts to open things up. And I'm sure guys like that, particularly Green, you know how they do like that go ball drill. Sometimes some of them will just be like, I'm going to throw this thing as hard as I can. I don't care if I complete it or not. Just to put it on tape and the whole NFL Network. Yeah.
One of them, let them know how far I can go.
That much went 80 yards and looked really good. Like just to show that I can do it. So I think those two might pique the interest of some quarterback coaches, when you see them in these type of drills.
Cam Newton's a great example. I've never met Cam Newton in person, but you always hear it's like, you don't realize how big Cam Newton is.
Yeah. Like I've seen Ben a million times, and it's the same way. People say the same thing about Josh Allen. Like, yeah, he looks bigger than most quarterbacks when you watch from your lazy boy. But when you stand next to these dudes, like, I don't know how anyone gets him on the ground.
I was blown away how big Steph Curry was. He's like a tiny little baby boy on the NBA court. He's 6'3". I'm 6'4". I stood next to him. He's not very much smaller than I am. And it's pretty amazing. Yeah. And so he's he's put on some weight too. Steph Curry has. He's not as small as he was when he once was. But so a lot of money to be made in Indianapolis, and some of it can be made just by showing up and showing how big you actually are, or in the other direction, how small you actually are, because those listed heights and weights we know aren't exactly accurate. I think a lot of that goes into offensive tackle, edge rushers with their lengths, and another position I want to talk about next, wide receiver. And by the way, running back and tight end, we don't know anything outside of the top player at those positions. So that'll be huge at the NFL scouting combine as well, at least getting all of that next. This episode of NFL Six Pack is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season does not have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. TurboTax Full Service can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. So instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver. It gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it for you. And for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150, all in. If a TurboTax expert did not file for you in the last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. I want to thank everybody once again for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. And if you are an everydayer, then the Everydayer Club is for you. This offseason does not exist for the everydayers, right? It's all about ball every single day throughout the offseason. That's why you love Locked On. You can join the group chat. We're going to send a Discord server invite-only Discord for Everydayer Club members, and of course, an ad-free feed of this show. All you got to do is head to NFL6pack.supercast.com or hit the link in the show notes to learn more. Let's talk wide receivers. I want to start. The most intriguing wide receiver to me is Makai Lemon, because a prospect like Makai Lemon out of USC can only drop from where he's at right now because the tape is so good. Universally, everybody loves watching Makai Lemon. But you think about all the players he's compared to, and when I watch him, you see, Monroe St. Brown, who came out of USC, and Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp, and whatever the comps are, they're all mid-round picks, right?
Good point.
And Makai Lemon's listed at 5'11", 190, 195. I will be absolutely shocked if he's more than 5'10" and 100 and maybe 90 pounds. He's not that big, and he's not that fast.
He's not that fast, yeah.
When's the last time he's being mocked in the top 15, top 10 sometimes? Some people's number one wide receiver. When's the last time a sub 5'11", sub 4.50 40-yard or slower than 4.50 40-yard dash wide receiver went in the first round? Because I can't think of one. Even if you want to compare him to Jackson Smith-Njigba.
I was going to bring that name up.
He's still 6'1.5". There was no questions about, he's too small. He's only a slot. He's too slow. He ran a 4.48 and he was 6'1.5". Like Makai Lemon would kill to run a 4.48 and be 6'1.5", right? Or 6 feet and a half or whatever he was.
Right.
Great point. 6 feet and 5/8, 196 at the combine, by the way, for Jackson Smith-Njigba. By the way, Jackson Smith-Njigba, a dynamite 20-yard shuttle, 3.93. He didn't run a 40. He did the 40 at the pro day, which was 4.48-ish, depending. So, and so he at least checked the boxes that you needed to, and he even slipped a little in the draft, right?
Yeah, he looked like the clear number one.
Yeah,
and then he's going the same neighborhood as like Quentin Johnston and those guys.
One or whatever it was. So he slipped at that. And so if Makai Lemon is what I think he is, 5'10", 190, and I don't think he's going to blaze if he runs it all, and he probably won't run it all if he knows he's not going to run sub 5.0 and the 4.50 and the 40. That's an interesting one to me, and where he ends up falling, because you have to really trust the tape to draft him in the first round, period, let alone in the top 15.
I really don't have much to add to it. I think you really nailed that one, because like you said, he's small and he's slow. I mean, like, that doesn't end up being first half of the first round type of player. History shows.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought up Smith-Njigba. And the one number you didn't mention was he had an obscenely good 3-cone drill, which you can understand when you watch his game. So maybe you're going to have to pry through the obvious numbers and start looking at like shuttles and 3-cones and things like that on Lemon. And
I think Makai Lemon will have good numbers. Like, that's where he shines.
That type of thing.
He does have all the important things, the competitiveness and the way he plays and his hands and his ability to get open, but deep threat, top speed, that's probably not going to be his thing. And I don't think he's going to be that big size-wise either.
And people might think slot only.
Right.
That limits you a lot.
Yes. And on the other side of that, you get some other receivers that are bigger and faster. Denzel Boston, I think, is one that could go either way. I could see him going mid first round. I could see him dropping into round 2. There are times on tape where it looks like, oh man, I saw him take a punt return. It's like, why is this guy, first of all, returning punts for Washington? And then I saw him house it, and it was like, he looked fast right there. But other times he just kind of looks slow, like not slow necessarily, but more of a, true X. You don't even want to
basketball player,
just kind of like jump ball specialist. So what exactly is he? If he can run sub 4.5 at his size, that would go a long way to helping him out and really solidifying him as a first round guy.
Yeah, that's a great point. Another one of those first round receivers I just want to mention, Jordan Tyson, is going to have to pass the medical stuff.
Yes.
Now, medical stuff's hard for us to comment on. They don't just publish that. But
it's kind of the overarching thing for all of this, and I've got it on the background. It's one of the main points, not one of our 6, but it's kind of like overarching for all of this. You don't want to get flagged with the medical. And if you are somebody that has had injuries in the past, someone like Jordan Tyson or somebody else who's coming off a current injury, you don't want it to look worse than expected. You want to give every team the most reasons possible to draft you and get any of those red flags. And so medical is a huge part of this that we don't really ever get to see.
But back to your original point, I guess Boston could easily pass Lemon on the consensus boards by this time next week.
Just by weighing in.
Yeah, just by weighing in and not being slow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have any other notes at wide receiver? Of course, it's really big for everybody as far as, speed. To be honest with you, let's transition in the offensive line because I think I talk about this every year. So, stop me if you've heard this one before, Matt. But to be honest with you, we look at speed for the fast guys when we should be looking at size and other things for the fast guys and toughness. And we look at size for the big guys when we should be looking at speed for the big guys. In fact,
and the agilities and
there's the short shuttle in specific. Like it's if offensive linemen who run faster than 4.50 in the short shuttle are like 90 percentile hit rate, no matter what round you draft them in. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. There are a couple flags.
40-yard dashes aren't far off. Show me all the offensive linemen with the best 40-yard dashes. You see a whole bunch of good offensive linemen. Show me all the wide receivers with the fastest 40-yard dashes. You see a bunch of bad wide receivers, frankly.
Yeah, they only can do one thing. They can't stop, start, and things like that. So along those lines, I do have 3 tackles to talk about. 2 for one reason and Kalen Proctor for another. Proctor just can't be too heavy.
Yeah, he can't be 370 pounds.
Yes. I mean, because he is going to walk out there in his underwear too. And it needs to at least look okay. It can't be like Andre Smith, running with his boobs flapping from Alabama. And, I mean, there's a lot of Orlando Browns and, like that's best case scenario. I mean, there's not many that are projected to be his size that actually end up holding up, and Becton can't stay on the field, guys like that. You can be too big,
and you do want teams to think that you can stick at tackle possibly, because that just helps you make money, even if you do end up at guard in the end.
You don't want to be Filele or
right, which is what I feel like Proctor is going to be a guard in the NFL. But if you show up at 345,
that's great,
and you wear it really well, or 350, that's fine. But if you're sloppy 370. The crazy thing is, what if he shows up at 366 pounds and it actually wears it well? Then what do you do? Because apparently that's one of the things with him is like, man, really shocking how big he is, but how well he carries his weight and how good he moves at that size. But you got to prove that you can get down, because that's what the teams want to see. So just
also shows your dedication. There's a lot of things here, like the people that go to the bench press and only do 3 reps. It's like, did you even try for the last 6 months, knowing that that kind of thing too? Like, this is a job interview.
Yeah, and when you see a prospect that is athletic and runs bad and has like a 32-inch vertical, where like I've seen clips of you dunking a basketball 360. I know you can jump. You didn't practice.
You didn't practice at all.
Yeah, you didn't work hard enough for the combine. So that's part of the test as well.
I also think these 2 tackles, Monroe Freeling from Georgia and Max Chior. I just crushed his name. Sorry.
Ihana.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Ihana Chior, I think it is.
Ihana Chior.
Yes.
Arizona State. I think those guys will shine in drills and agility testing and all that stuff. I could see them really moving up forward.
And the number one thing, if you are someone's going to play on the edge, is arm length. And I think both Freeling and Ihana Chior have not only great feet and will be able to show off their athleticism and size, but also have the arm length. And Ihana Chior, we already know, is 6'5" and a half.
Yeah, we have the measurements.
And 34.5-inch arms. So we already know that for him. So for Ihana Chior, it's the workout numbers, and he moves so well at his size. I bet he runs pretty well.
Yeah, I bet those two stand out when you're watching tackle after tackle after tackle. Ooh, wow.
Yeah, and Caleb Lomu's got a lot of money to make those. Blake Miller, I think, is maybe under athletic. We'll see how he works out. But if you can go to the combine and prove that you have the height, weight, and athleticism for teams to say this is an offensive tackle that can start in the NFL, you make yourself a whole lot of money, and you get
there's not many on the planet.
Yeah, and just push all those guys up. If they got 34-inch arms and they're athletic and they're the height, weight, speed you're looking for, move them up in your draft board.
Yeah. Because there's not many of them. There really aren't.
Let's talk defensive linemen and who is RB2 and tight end 2 in this 2026 NFL draft. We might find out at the combine next. Today's episode of NFL Six Pack is brought to you by FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel has given you the opportunity to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. Tickets, flights, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking what team might make a deep run into the playoffs, this is the perfect time to lock it in. NBA futures are there's NFL futures, by the way, still at FanDuel. You can bet on the NFL draft as well, but it is NBA season right now. And whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title, it adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, finishing up our 6 biggest things to watch at the NFL Scouting Combine. Before we get to the defensive line, let's finish up the offensive side of the ball. Who is your running back 2 and your tight end 2 going in? And are there any other names on the list that you think could kind of prove out, or is it so wide open that just about anybody could come out of Indianapolis and be like, you know what, after Jeremiah Love, this is the second best running back because look at the show he put on in Indy.
Now, I definitely think running backs can get over. I don't care much about what running backs do in Indy personally, but I think that there's really a logjam between like Jonah Coleman from Washington, the other Notre Dame back, Jadarian Price.
It might be back Notre Dame.
It could be. Yeah, a lot of people think that.
Ronnie Brown, Cadillac Williams from Auburn back in the day.
Yep.
But I think consensus right now is that the top 2 backs are both from the same backfield at Notre Dame.
Yep. And Emmett Johnson from Nebraska would probably be the third name I'd throw in there. Singleton from Penn State is supposed to blow things up, but I don't think he's as good a player. I just think there's a logjam right now at both these positions, tight end and running back, where it's obvious who number 1 is. There's a lot of room to fight for number 2.
Yeah, I think you don't want to have teeny tiny hands because teams might question whether you're going to be able to hold on to the football at the next level, and it also helps you catch the ball, not only just fumble problems. You don't want to look too thin and narrow in the bottom half because the team might look at you as maybe a scat back. Speaking of scat backs, though, Damon Claiborne from Wake Forest, I think he's going to blaze.
Ooh,
he's got I don't want to say Devon Achane is a comp, but as far as like
type
5'10", 190, 4 threes, he might be that guy at the combine. He flies, and so look out for him. What about tight ends? Obviously, Kenyon Sadiq could probably only hurt himself, but I mean, even if he works out, I think he would work out phenomenally. So I don't think it's going to matter. He's tied in 1. Who's potentially tied in 2? Is there anybody that's a sleeper for you to look out for?
I don't know about sleeper, but I think these are the names that are fighting for it. Is Max Clare from Ohio State, and we know they have awesome wide receivers, so their tight ends never really produce, as much as you're getting some targets that you would hope. Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt was kind of the opposite, where he is like the main dude, and that's super important.
Big time athlete, has some size, former quarterback too, right?
I think so, yes. And Michael Trigg is another name that is supposedly as athletic and gifted as any of these tight ends, but he's got a lot of off the field stuff. So how does he interview? I mean, if he blows up the drills, but nobody likes him in the interviews, like,
yeah, you maybe gain some ground here and you lose some ground over there.
Mm-hmm.
Tough one. I want to talk about edge rushers next because that's a big one for length. And there's numerous players that are rumored to have really short arms, but there's some questions on who was doing the testing and like the junior pro days on, maybe they're measuring from a different spot because like, why does this guy have such short arms compared to what he's supposed to be? So I think that's a big one, especially if you're going to draft a guy high like Reuben Bain, who's rumored to have really short arms. And it's just really important. Those offensive tackles, those edge rushers, you want arm length if you can, just to help you in that hand fighting and get free coming off the edge.
Bain's the biggest one of the top names because they're talking about him having below 31-inch arms. I mean, you mentioned tackles with 34 plus, which is the average. That's a big deal. I mean, that 3 inches doesn't sound like much, but I mean, if I'm trying to touch you before you touch me, 3-inch difference goes a long way. So he was a name I jotted down. And then the total opposite is Keldrick Falk from Auburn because he looks like he's built in a lab. But Bain's like much better at football than Falk.
Right. I mean? Close to the better football player.
Yeah.
And so, that's fascinating there. And you've got to try to, and if you're Bain, can you get to 32? And everyone would be like, oh, good
enough.
We draft him wherever we need to. Yeah. So you just want to be not disqualifying. You don't have to have 34-inch arms. You don't have to be, a freak of nature lengthwise. You just don't want people to start taking you off their board because there's some GMs in the league that really have a threshold. And I think every team at a certain point has thresholds at different positions. It's like, well,
it's just how you get fired.
If you're not over 31, we won't draft you, period. Especially if we're talking about if you have let's say you're the Titans, you have the 4th pick in the draft. There's a different edge you can draft, If Bain falls to
take somebody else
25, then it's like, well, we'll just take you even though you got short arms. But if there's anywhere near a tiebreaker, it's like, well, this guy doesn't meet the threshold. You might not be able to play with this specific thing in the NFL, whether it's height, weight, speed, whatever it is.
I should have opened the show with this because I usually every time about this time of year I mention it to the listeners that one thing I like to do when the combine numbers are finally released is I just grab every position group and I sort them all. And I really just look at like the top 15% and the bottom 15%, like who are the real outliers? Boy, that short shuttle is terrible, or that short shuttle is rare, something like that. I mean, I don't really care if you're in the 40th percentile versus 60th percentile, but I do care if you're in the 10th percentile,
I want to see if I can find the short shuttle list really quick. And maybe if I can't find it in a couple seconds.
For the O-line?
We'll bring it up when the offensive linemen do their workouts. I was really disappointed, actually, last year. A lot of offensive linemen didn't run that. And I'm thinking, man, you should train specifically for that because people in the league,
because now they know,
such a huge correlation that it's something that that teams are looking for. And so, I don't see it right now. When we break down the offensive lineman workouts from the NFL draft this week, we'll break out the short shuttle list because it's a pretty phenomenal list of unbelievable hits every round, even guys that were undrafted.
Especially the interior guys, the guards and centers. You think of like these round fat guys, but that's not the case at all anymore.
Yeah, like Jason Kelsey had one of the best ever.
Yes.
And in fact,
you got to hit a moving target. You got to react. You got
to spring out of your stance and you got to get out to the second level. You got to reach blocks. You're supposed to be on the outside shoulder of a guy who's already lined up on the outside of you. How are you supposed to get there if you can't beat him with speed? And so
when Aaron Donald crosses your face, you got to recover,
Right. Yeah. And so I know one guy that's big is the 49ers starting center, Jake Brendel. And he went completely undrafted. And he's worked himself into a starting center in the NFL. And he's one of those guys too. And so it's like it goes all the way through. It's not just first-round guys. It's all the way through to undrafted players. And the hit rate is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, and they're not all superstars, but they rarely bust, which is, use a 5th-round pick on a guy that's a guard. I mean, Steelers have one in Mason McCormick out of North Dakota State. Like he was one of those guys that fit the mold. And
here we go. I did pick up a list. Do we have time? Should I drop this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, so here we go. This is an old version of it from Josh Norris, and I think Josh Norris is the one that puts out the list every year. So this is in 2022, after the 2022 combine, it looks like. So we've got all the offensive linemen that were sub 4.50 in the short shuttle time. Nate Solder, Anthony Costanzo, Andre Dillard, Eric Fisher, Jake Matthews, Joel Batonio, Xavier Suafilo, Jake Fisher, Jason Spriggs, James Daniels, Ezra Cleveland, Joe Noteboom, John Urschel, Joe Haig, Jason Kelsey. We're into round 6 now.
Yeah,
David Questenberry, Jeff Baca, Matthew Paradis, Chase Roulier, Charles Leno, and then, as I mentioned before, one of the better short shuttle times was Jake Brendel as well as an undrafted free agent. There's like 3 busts on that entire list.
There's a lot of starts on that list.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe not a lot of Hall of Famers, but a lot of starts. And you're getting that 5th and 6th round picks. That's gold.
And I believe maybe the threshold has kind of been bumped up just slightly to add a few more names to the list. And it's like 4.55 instead of 4.50. And so I'll be looking forward to that list. I think follow Josh Norris. So I think he'll be the one that's keeping track of that. And we'll tweet that out at some point after the offensive lineman run at the combine.
But you're right. I mean, all positions are running fewer shuttles and 3 cones. They're doing it on their own. I think they work out for the 40, do that there, and then they spend a couple of weeks doing it for their pro day.
Yes. Yeah. And again, even the 40. Go look at the best 40-yard times for offensive linemen. It's a list of really good players.
It is good. Yeah.
Fast guys that run fast. The DBs. The
10-yard splits are important.
Yeah, 10-yard splits a really big one as well for a lot of positions. So there you go. Fun stuff. Have safe travels, Matt. And we'll talk to you next. You will be at your hotel.
I'll be in the hotel. Yeah.
Cool. All right. And thanks everybody for making this your first listen. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Matt and I back Tuesday right here. NFL Six Pack.